Hello, everybody. Welcome to Bolt Action 1944. And today I wanted to do an after action report on a tournament that I went to this weekend, past weekend. It's Savannah Garrison Pulaski's Guard. It's their spring tournament, 1,250 points and a 20 order dice cap. Okay, my list here is obviously British. I had 1,250 points and 18 order dice. And I had one platoon with two 5-man paratroopers with each with a light machine gun. And then I had a inexperienced platoon leader. Had a regular anti-tank rifle and had a company commander, inexperienced LVT. Okay. And in the second platoon, we had a 7-man paratroopers, all with rifles, 8-man Gurkha section with blood curdling charge. We had an inexperienced lieutenant leading them, another anti-tank rifle, and between the two platoons, I had 3 light mortars, all inexperienced, and I also had 2 forward artillery observers. And then in the armor platoon, it was led off with a Comet, which is has a frontal armor of 10, and then 2 Vickers A tanks with twin light machine gun turrets. And that is my list. Now, round 1. So every table at this tournament had a theme particularly tailored to the terrain. So your mission was based on that. So depending on what table you drew is what mission you got. And round 1, I was in the jungle. Let's see here. Let me image file. Let's see. We're going to show you. Is it this one? It's probably the first one. All right. Let's see if I can find it here. Sometimes this is easier. Should be right there. JPEG. It's taking its time to load. Add to stage. Oh, that is the snow table. Okay, that was round 2. There we go. Nope, city. All right, we'll get this here in a minute. So it's the last one. So I've got pictures of all 3 boards. And there we go. Here we go. And this is the jungle airfield. This was the board that I played on. And so I got this side, which had 3, I got to choose. It had 3 objectives on this side of the board and 2 on the other side. So when I got the choice of sides, I picked this side here. And so basically my Comet was deployed on the right over here. And so, you know, this was a beast for the whole tournament. I have to say, this thing, it may not have got its points back, but it shrugged off hits from all kinds of stuff, and just kept moving. So my comet pushed up to the right of this little hut here, and there was a Humber that had come up the little road there past the little radio tower, and I shot it and killed it right away. And then I think like the next turn, he had a Bren loaded down with two Piats that pushed up next to it, and I blew it up the next turn. And then I think the bombardment may have taken out his other Bren that had some submachine gun guys in it, and they had to unload. So they all kind of bunched up over here. My bombardments really did well in this game. So yeah, that helped me out a lot there. And then also the LVT pushed up next to this grass hut, and um, the Gurkhas had got out because he had an artillery observer too, and he had placed his bombardment over here. Now, fortunately, I managed to, one of my Vickers tanks managed to kill off his other observer that was over to my left at the bunker there. Managed to kill that observer off, so he only got to call in the one. And so I unloaded the LVT, got my Gurkhas out, positioned them, and then once the submachine gun guys had been forced out of their Bren, they were within 12 inches, so they made an assault on them with blood curdling charge. They weren't allowed to shoot at me as I came running in, and they were in the open, and so we fought simultaneous, and it was pretty easy victory. And then there was an officer hiding behind the radio tower there. I was going after them toward the end of the game. My paratroopers pretty much, they just basically stayed back on the three objectives on my side of the board and held them. They're stubborn, and they took some incoming fire, but they just didn't care. They lose some guys, and they just hung in there. The light mortars actually did quite a bit. I think they ended up killing the officer in that bunker. He had placed in that an officer in that his bunker over by his side, his right, my left. The Vickers tanks were just awesome. I put them on my left here and ran them up between the planes, and I tried assaulting one of his veteran squads, but he had a bunch of pins on him the round before, and I was hoping I could get to him before he could shed his pins, but he ended up rallying, and I think he only had one pin on him when I tank assaulted him, and they just got out of the way. But then the next turn, I got first dice, and they were dead point blank. I didn't have to move, and I just chewed them up. No cover, just they were gone. Um, yeah, and that was a pretty good win. There, I think I ended up getting like maybe five of the set or four of the five objectives. Yeah, I got three on my side, and I think I managed to grab one on the other side. He still had contested the other one, or I would have gotten all five. But so that was round one. And then round two, played on this table. And once again, this was a key positions scenario, and we ended up getting 7 objectives. And then we rolled for snow, and we got snow, and it lasted the whole game. Visibility was reduced to 24 inches. Combining that with the fact that one of the table rules is the infiltrators could not deploy on the board; they had to advance on. Really hurt my bombardments in this game, trying to soften them up. And so he also won to place objectives first, since there was an odd number of objectives. He placed more on his side of the board. My side was the foreground here. He was in the far background. And then he also, well, he won side, so naturally he picked the side with where he placed all of his objectives. So that meant that I had to go get him. I had to get at least one and defend mine. Um, and so uh, the Comet was facing nose to nose with a Panzer IV up in the woods. And for a couple turns, we were just sitting there. I went on ambush, waiting for him to push forward, because the visibility of 24 inches meant that neither one of us could shoot at each other. So towards the end of the round, I ended up trying to shoot at other stuff off ambush. And finally, I pushed up into some rocky ground, took a shot from him. I missed. He took a shot at me. It bounced off like a ping pong ball. And then the next turn, I got a dice and I double pinned him, and just totaled it. So the Comet, the biggest thing about the Comet is that +7. It's real easy to get a double penetration roll, um, or double damage roll, and it's just the massive damage you get from them. It just ensures that you're going to knock something out, and then it can take hits and just shrug them off. Um, the Gurkhas over in the woods in the center, actually, they had pushed up into one of my objectives, and he managed to get that one from me. And I fought really hard to try to take that back, but he had several pieces of armor, light armor, guarding it. And I didn't have enough assets to clear it. My Comet being the only real anti-tank and not enough time to knock it out. My anti-tank rifles tried to kill him off and were unsuccessful. But the veteran, he had like a 6-man veteran Panzer Grenadiers with assault rifles. And my Gurkhas got out of the LVT, shot him the first round, and I think I killed one guy. And then the next round, I got the first dice, and I promptly assaulted. And even though they were veteran tough fighters, the Gurkhas had no trouble wiping them out. Very pleased with how they performed again. And then I had pushed around to my right, and I had scooped up one objective that he had previously owned, and because he pushed forward to my center, he had left it unattended. And I was able to scoop that one, and it all came down to turn 7. Had we rolled for turn 7, there was nothing to stop me from pushing back behind that one of those houses where there was another objective. He had nothing back there to stop me from capturing that one. That would have been enough for a win right there. And then I possibly could have gotten the one on the left because my Comet had pushed far up, and I had several units trying to take an objective on the far left side. And then the highlight of the game, even though I lost this game, was he had a Pac 40 gun sitting behind the half track there. That's the blown up half track in the terrain. He had that sitting right there, and I made an assault with my little Vickers, and I ran over his Pac 40. Of course, he did have a light autocannon right next to it, which the next turn or next dice pull, he just rotated his gun into my side and blew it up. But it was a good trade-off because the Pac 40 was something that could hurt my Comet, possibly getting it in the side as I was pushing up. So basically sacrificed the Vickers to take out a threat to my Comet. And so that was it. That would have been probably would have got me the tournament had I won that one. But that's just how the game goes. And then third round, I played on the city board. And this scenario was controlling the most buildings at the end of the game. And so we were moving in long table edges here, advancing on. My Gurkhas made actually 3 assaults in this game. The LVT had pushed up in the middle of town and got out and took on some commandos, veteran commandos. They were not tough fighters. I think they all had rifles, and they made easy work of those guys. Then they pushed on in, and I think they killed a medic. Sorry about that. And then I think they assaulted the machine gun team that was in one of the buildings, and made quick work of that. So it was 3 assaults there. Um, the My opponent had an Avery, and his being slow really hurt because he was on the far side of the board from kind of where all the action was, and it really never got to shoot much. Toward the end of the game, it actually took a couple shots at my Comet, which had started to push into town, and just never did anything. I actually tried to shoot it a couple times. Um, I think I hit it once, and then I rolled a 1 for damage, so that was terrible. Although it did make him back up the next turn from the 2 pins. But the Comet did destroy an infant. Well, it didn't destroy it. They passed their order check, but it shot it was like a 8-man commando squad, and I think it killed like 6 of them. So they were left with 2. Officer was nearby. They passed their order test. They were okay. Eventually, I think they got shot off the table. So yeah, I mean it didn't get points back again, but just the amount of board control that the Comet exhibited was just amazing. I can't say enough good things about the Comet. I hate that it's 300 points, and in a non-dice cap tournament, it's going to be a tough decision whether I play it or not or let it go. Obviously with 18 order dice, it's pretty easy to bring a big tank like that. I had 18 and I had a big tank. Well, the dice cap was 20, and I had 18. So I was never in any trouble with dice through the whole tournament. The biggest takeaway from the tournament, and really what won me this game, was my artillery bombardments. I had my observers in the church, and they just absolutely destroyed this guy's army. I I was feeling kind of bad for him because he was kind of pushing in the because they're trying to get these buildings, so he's all in the city, and I'm just unloading these bombardments close in, and his units were getting hit and they were getting splash hit. So I would hit one unit and the template would catch. There was one time when the template hit a large squad and it caught both an officer and a Piat team, I believe. And it ended up wiping out 3 units with one hit. And then they were also still a target. So not only did they get splash hit from the squad getting hit, they also got hit by and that's what finished everything off. Because I think the first time I hit the officer with the splash, I rolled a 1 on the damage, and I seem to do that a lot whenever I hit an officer with the artillery bombardment. I'll tend to roll a 1. It's just crazy. The squads, I'll get a good number of guys with the squads, but then when I roll a single guy like that, it's like 1. He's through. He survived, but he didn't survive the next one because he got a direct hit again, and then that finished off the Piat team as well from a splash from that. So everything was piling up. I mean, in a matter of 2 turns of bombardments, I think I killed 10 units from bombardments. So it was pretty brutal. And that was really the game. From that point, he didn't have enough assets to try to even control near as many buildings as I could. So the light mortars, they just kept doing their thing. I think I knocked out an MMG team with my light mortar. I think one turn, and I zeroed in on what was it, a Piat team in a building, or there was some unit in a building, and I hit it with the light mortar, and I got ranged in and ended up killing it. And so that's pretty much the take. I went 2-1. I came very close to being 3-0 and possibly winning the whole tournament because I had a lot of kills. I think I had 14 kills in this one. It seems like I had 10 in the first game and like 4 or 5 in the second game, what's the one that I lost. So I had quite a few kills. I mean, I had, let's see, easily I had 25 or more kills in 3 rounds, which is pretty good considering I didn't only run one squad of Gurkhas. So yeah. So like I say, the paratroopers, these guys, they're just amazing. Stubborn, veteran, little 5-man squad. They're gonna stick around. You might kill them all off to one guy. They don't care. Um, you keep an officer, even just a regular officer nearby with a +2 bonus, they're only going to break on a foo bar. That's it. They're going to stick around. The light mortars, they're cheap. It was tough bringing 3 light mortars in an 18 dice cap game, but I know how valuable they can be and how much of a just an influence on the game they can be. They make your opponent do stuff even if they don't hit. It makes them move. It makes them hunker down and stop activating, trying to half hits. It just does a lot of stuff for very few points. And I like playing them. They're real fun. The Vickers tanks, oh my God, these things are so great. Just an amazing, for 65 points, you get 2 medium machine guns in an enclosed armored tank that can assault artillery, infantry, or just shoot them up. If you lose one, it's no big deal because it's only 65 points, and it's probably got its points back. The double artillery observers, wow, what can I say? Company commander, don't leave home without it. He makes everything happen. You can't fail an order test when he's on the board. It's just great. And then the LVT gives him just a huge bubble, 12-inch bubble, all the way from every edge of this LVT. And he's armored, so it takes an inexperienced officer up to a 7. It really is what it amounts to. Double forward artillery observers, they're great. The Gurkhas, everybody says, there's no close assault anymore in version 3. I totally disagree. You just have to do it right. You just have to plan it, and you can't just bull rush into your opponent. And I believe blood curdling charge is the key to Gurkhas. Because if you can avoid that incoming fire and you just fight, even if they swing first, if so, I think I took on some veterans in one assault. They weren't tough fighters, but they got to swing first because they were in cover. But they halved their hits, so I think it was like 2 or 3 guys swinging at me, and if they get 1 wound, now I'm swinging with 7 guys that are all tough fighters. I'm going to get 2 wounds easily. Game's over, So as long as you can avoid that incoming fire and you don't take any casualties coming into the combat, they're good to go. The only thing I wouldn't assault would be an equal size squad or maybe a larger of tough fighters. But at the end of the day, the math's always going to be in your favor because they have the number of guys fighting. So, if it's an 8-man squad versus an 8-man squad, now in that case, you would not want to assault somebody where they get defensive position because then you got a real chance of losing that. But if it's just an even up fight, hey, they're swinging with 4 guys, I'm swinging with 8. The odds say I'm going to win that every time. So unless you really tank the roll, and with the way Tough Fighter now you get to re-roll misses, it's more than likely you're going to win. You might take more casualties in that type of a close combat, but you're going to win it. So I like them. I think I may try to include 2 in my next list. I don't know if I want to field 4 yet until we get some real cheap armored transports for the British. Right now, I'm having to use the LVT, and I don't like pushing it up too much because the company commander's in there as well. So I just kind of use it as a free move, as you would call it, for the Gurkhas. The LVT moves up, and then they get to move out. So effectively, they could, with their run move, 9 inches from the LVT. So that's 21 inches they can advance in the first turn of the game. And they're you put them in position where they can assault. Yeah, that helps. But like I say, if I can get those little CT 15A, I think is what it's called, or C15TA armored truck, they're probably in the 30-point range. Hold 8 dudes. Just get 4 of them, 4 squads of Gurkhas, and then just push them up. Yeah. So this was a good tournament, a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to trying to tune this up a little bit for Recon coming up. And thanks for watching, everybody. And please like, share, subscribe, and comments. Anything you want to ask or say, I'll check the comments and respond. If I can come up with an answer, I'll give you my opinion on it, and I'd like to hear your opinion. All right, guys, thanks a lot.